I have attended 41 quorums in my tenure as junior attestor to the Conclave of Arcs. I have witnessed dissolution motions filed against 17 civilizations. I have stamped the seals, maintained the docket, and carried the terminal records to the archival relay without error or editorial comment. That is the function of an attestor. You do not have opinions. You have a stamp and a ledger and a tolerance for the long procedural hours that senior delegations find beneath their dignity to personally endure. I tell you this so that you understand what I mean when I say that the Quorum of Earth was, in all structural particulars, indistinguishable from the others. The session notice had gone out 40 standard days prior. The grounds were not unusual. Class 14 biosphere accelerating extraplanetary capability, first contact protocols willfully circumvented by the subject civilization on 6 separate recorded occasions, behavioral profile consistent with unmanaged apex predator expansion. The Ethic Dominion had filed the original petition. 3 secondary co-signatories had joined within the standard window. The Conclave's own review board had returned a preliminary finding of justification. All of it landed on my desk in a binder 2 centimeters thick, and I had processed it as I process every docket, page by page, attestation by attestation, flagging nothing because there was nothing procedurally to flag. What the quorum rules require, when the civilization in question holds an active diplomatic liaison credential, is that their registered delegate be notified and offered observer status for the session. This is not an opportunity to contest the proceeding. Quorum is not a trial. Observer status means exactly what it says. You may sit, you may take notes, you may file a single statement of record within the 20-day window after the session closes, and that statement will be archived alongside the dissolution record. It will not reverse the vote. It never has. Sent the notification to the Earth Liaison Office 38 days out, as required. The acknowledgement came back in 4 hours. It was faster than most. It said only, "Delegate Petra Hale will attend. Please confirm desk access at the clerk's annex." I confirmed it. Thought nothing of it. Delegates occasionally request annex access, so they have somewhere to sit during the long pre-session documentation review. I set up a secondary terminal and a chair at the small table beside my station and considered the matter closed. She arrived 90 minutes before the session opened. I noticed her the way you notice any minor logistical element that slots into place without requiring your attention. She came through the delegate entrance, showed her credential to the corridor officer, set a soft-sided case on the annex table, and began removing binders. Not a binders. She stacked them in 2 columns. She opened the first one, smoothed the page flat with the heel of her hand, and began reading. She did not introduce herself. She did not ask me to explain the proceedings. She did not look at the main chamber floor where the senior quorum seats were filling in, one by one, with the long-limbed slate purple figures of the ethic delegation and their co-signatories. I remember thinking she was very small. That is a common observation among those of us who have worked near humans for any length of time. They are smaller than the file suggests they should be. The file describes a Class 14 biosphere. You build a picture in your mind. The picture is wrong. She was perhaps a third my height, wearing a plain gray working suit that had clearly been worn before, with a scratch along her jaw that looked a day or 2 old. She had a stylus tucked behind one ear and a second one in her hand, and she was moving through the binder at a pace I would describe as methodical. The session opened at the 3rd bell. Attestor General Vethic Koran read the grounds into the record. The 7 delegations confirmed quorum. Preliminary findings were entered. I was doing my own work, logging the attendance seals, time-stamping the entry documents, and I was aware, in the way that you are aware of background furniture, that Petra Hale was still reading. She had moved to the 2nd binder. She had made a series of notations on a separate sheet and set it to one side. At one point, she reached into her case and produced a small container of something she ate without looking up. She chewed slowly. She turned a page. The Ethics Senior Delegate, Councillor Marath, presented the dissolution argument in the formal register. It ran 40 minutes. It was well constructed. I have heard worse from delegations with much stronger cases, and it cited the behavioral record with precision, the Class 14 designation, the 6 circumvented contact protocols. The modeled expansion trajectory showing Earth origin vessels reaching 4 additional star systems within 60 years. The Conclave's own threat classification framework placed unmanaged apex predators above a certain capability threshold into the mandatory review category without exception. At no point during the 40 minutes did Petra Hale look up. I found myself watching her more than the proceedings. This is not characteristic of me. I am not given to distraction. But there was something in her stillness that my attention kept returning to. In the same way your eye returns to a door that is slightly ajar in a room where all the other doors are closed. She was not performing calm. She was simply calm. She made another notation. She moved to the third binder. At the 40-minute mark, she set down the stylus, up the second one, and kept reading. The delegations voted in order of seniority. The Ethic Dominion, in favor. The Korath Collective, in favor. The Valesi Standing Council, in favor. The minor co-signatories in sequence, in favor, in favor, in favor. The conclave chair called for dissent. There was none. The motion carried at unanimous. Stamped the primary seal at the second bell of the afternoon session. Dissolution record, open. Case designation, Earthsol, Class 14. Resolution, approved. I began compiling the terminal documentation. The signal to the Conclave's Enforcement Directorate would go out within the hour, as standard procedure required. Delegate Petra Hale would have 20 days to file her statement of record. She did not file a statement of record. She closed the third binder. She capped the stylus. She placed both binders back in the case in the same order she had removed them, snapped the case latched, and stood. She set the visitor's badge on my desk. Not pushed, not dropped, just placed. And she said, in a tone that matched the rest of her morning, "Thank you for the desk access." The terminal logged out cleanly. Then, she walked out through the main atrium. Same pace she had walked in. She did not look at the chamber floor. She did not look at Councillor Merath, who was accepting congratulations from the secondary delegations. She passed the corridor officer, turned his nod, and turned left toward the transit hub. I noted her departure time in the log, 44 seconds after the seal was stamped. I thought she had taken it badly, in the particular way of those who have prepared themselves not to react. I have seen this before. You learn, in this work, that composure under a dissolution ruling is its own kind of statement, even when the statement goes nowhere. The acknowledgement signal arrived 31 minutes later. It was not from Earth's diplomatic ministry. It was not from any registered Earth origin relay. The Conclave's signal desk flagged it because the corridor of origin appeared on our charts as unoccupied transit space, a section of the approach vectors, 3 light hours out from Vethon Station that no vessel had any registered reason to be in. The signal was addressed to the Conclave of Arcs, Attestor General Vethic Koran, and to the dissolution docket by its case number. It was filed in standard conclave format. It cited the correct procedural codes. It was dated 40 days prior. It was a counter notice of dissolution, filed in the name of the Earth Diplomatic Mission to the Conclave, signed by Petra Hale, Liaison Delegate, referencing subsection 41 of the Conclave's own charter. The provision that allows a subject civilization to place a standing defense. Notification with the Enforcement Directorate before a quorum convenes contingent on the simultaneous physical presence of credentialed vessels in the relevant approach corridors. The vessels were already there. They had been there since the session notice went out. I read the counter notice twice. Then I pulled the signal desk's approach corridor scan from 30 minutes prior and cross-referenced it against the charter's credentialing requirements. Everything was in order. Her paperwork was correct. Every attestation stamp was correctly placed. Every procedural code accurately cited. She had filed it on day 1. I sat with that for a long time. She had come in, set her binders on my desk, eaten her lunch, made her notations, and done her work while 6 delegations voted to end her civilization. She had not argued. She had not made a statement. She had not looked up. She had already done the only thing that mattered before the session opened, and then she came and did her paperwork and waited for us to finish ours. The Conclave's Enforcement Directorate has not issued a follow-on order. The dissolution record remains open, technically. These things can remain open for a long time when the approach corridors are not clear. I note the departure time in the log every morning. Still, 44 seconds after the seal. That is all I am authorized to record.